Alright, today is the day we're going to start connecting the deck and the hull, and they don't really line up very well right now. Fortunately, the deck is sitting exactly at 23 inches wide, which is the beam of the boat, but the hull is sitting a little narrow. It's at about 22 inches. So what I'm going to do is cut a bunch of dowel rods and put them into the hull at various lengths along the whole length of the boat to kind of spread it apart just a little bit to get the deck and the hull to come together perfectly. So that's my first task. Alright, so I've printed out a picture of the boat with all the dimensions, and I'll start cutting the sticks and putting them in place. Alright, as I'm able to get these sections to touch where they're supposed to, I'll put a dab of thicker crazy glue just on the spot where it lines up correctly, spray it, and see if it holds. And I'll see if I can't spot weld my way around the boat to get it all lined up. Wish me luck. Okay, there it goes. Okay. Go to the next seam. See, if nothing else, at least we know the seams are lining up, and everything else can go from there. So this is not the permanent way to connect a boat. What I'm doing here is just connecting the outside, getting it lined up properly, and then I'm going to wrap the whole thing with this strapping tape, and then I'm going to flip it onto its sides, and that's when I'm going to get the real fillet and the tape on the inside of the seam using epoxy. And when that's all done, then the connection is really secure, and I can come back to this stuff and maybe sand it down or grind it out a little bit and put some more epoxy in on the outside. This is really just temporarily to hold it in place. Steak knife. Alright, so I turned it around, but the entire thing is now being held together from the outside with crazy glue up and down the seams. And that's just a temporary solution because it's fragile, brittle, it doesn't look good. What I'm going to do is now start epoxying on the inside all the way up and down, and then I'll get a nice fillet, and then I'll glass all up inside, and after that I'm going to grind down and sand off as much of this crazy glue as I can and probably try to get some epoxy on the outside. So this is just a temporary solution to get us to the next step. Alright, let's give the old trusty spotlight. Alright, if you've ever built a boat before, or if you've ever even watched a video of a boat build before, you already know what this special tool is. It is called a brush on a stick, and that's all it is. A very long stick with a brush. Mine's a little special because it's got a second part. On the other end is a scraper slash pusher slash fillet maker, just a little extra help when I need to move the epoxy around before I do the glass. It would be a lot easier if I would just drill a pilot hole, but I'm too stubborn. Alright, good enough. Brush on a stick. Okay, a lot of hands are required in these steps, but I'm getting the thickened epoxy into the seam. I've already poured some thin stuff in to get it wetted out, and now I'm going to put a little fillet, and then I'll scrape it down with this scraper all the way into the end. hard to see, but yeah, you know, it's not too bad. We'll get some glass on it. That fillet isn't completely necessary. The glass is pretty strong. It's 6 ounce. There it is. So we'll measure that out. I need about probably 9 feet to start. Alright, I've got it cut to length, and now I'm going to roll it up, and I'll get the whole thing wet out before I unroll it into the seam. Tiny little bubbles and stuff aren't really going to matter as long as that seam is sufficiently covered, and I think it is, even though the glass kind of waves, you know, left and right a bit, or up and down, I guess, no matter how you see it. But I think we have pretty good coverage, so that'll do. I'm going to let it sit. Till I'm ready to use the brush on the stick, I'll go ahead and just store it up in the stern. I'll get what I can reach here and in the hatch there, and then when I'm ready, I'll take my stick, dip it in the epoxy, and work it all the way down. And then we'll do some fillet, and then we'll do some glass. First, I'm just going to paint the epoxy unthickened onto the seam running all the way to the tip. After that, I'll come back and give it some thickened epoxy. Alright, I've got a big old batch of peanut butter here for my fillet. Start filling it in. I hope you guys appreciate what I do for you, because you are right in my way. I'll come back when it's a little more tacky and just push these little edges down. It's really not a big deal. What I care about is the middle. Cool beans. 2 down, 2 to go. Why do I even bother with gloves? I really don't know. I get sticky every time. It doesn't matter. Gloves are dumb. Alright, that should be the official last step in connecting the deck and the hull. After that, we'll peel it off and sand it smooth and start fitting in the skeg controls.